was improper because it was not based on a specific federal statute and because he had not been named to the post by the president or confirmed by the Senate. Now, the ruling rolls back nearly 30 years of how special counsels have gotten their jobs. Special counsels are governed by Justice Department regulations, not federal statute. And they set through the statutory authority of the Attorney General, i.e. the Attorney General has the power and has had it for 30 years to appoint special counsel. This has been the case since the Clinton administration, when the previous law on independent prosecutors was allowed to lapse in the wake of the Whitewater investigations. Of course, the special counsel's office has vowed to appeal to the 11th Circuit the decision by Judge Cannon. This decision flies in the face of previous court decisions reaching back to that Watergate era. And in a single swoop, this judge removed a major legal threat against Trump. And delegates today at the Republican National Convention approved a new party platform that embraces Donald Trump's political positions, including leave it to the states approach to abortion law that abandons the party's long-standing explicit support for national restrictions on the procedure. The new Republican platform includes language that links abortion to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, but leaves open a path to legislation or court decisions that would grant fetuses additional legal rights. But the approval of the 16-page document infuriated some anti-abortion advocates within the party who view the watered-down language as a faithless betrayal of a core part of the GOP base. And the Homeland Security Secretary said that Robert F. Kennedy, now at the instruction of Joe Biden, will be granted Secret Service protection and that the protection of Donald Trump will be enhanced. The Secretary for Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, said that both Trump and Biden are constantly the subject of threats. And he said that since Saturday's shooting, adjustments have been made not only to Trump's protection detail, but to those of Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris as well. And you may not recognize this, but this individual, who is now the VP candidate for the Republican ticket, said, "I can't stomach Donald Trump." This is what J.D. Vance, who was selected today, a senator from Ohio, to be the running mate for Donald Trump. This is what he said to NPR not so long ago. He said, "I am a never Trumper guy. I never liked him." These are comments he made to Charlie Rose in 2016. I'm going to tell you some other comments. This was just weeks before Trump was elected president. But by 2022, Vance was running for Senate and had changed his tune. Surprise. He said he had been wrong for criticizing Trump, who he defended now as a great president. Folks recognize that J.D. Vance needed Donald Trump's endorsement in order to win that Senate race in Ohio. So he made an about-face turn, and it paid off because in a post to his social media platform, this 39-year-old Republican is glad to say that he is the 2024 running mate, capping a meteoric rise for this, what some are calling a GOP star, and ending speculation that it might be Senator Tim Scott, it might be U.S. Congressman Byron Donalds of Florida, it may be Marco Rubio, another senator from the state of Florida. Well, the suspense is over. It's J.D. Vance, 39-year-old Republican, who some say is to the far right of Donald Trump and is an extremist in the GOP party. This is the news of the day, and this is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. I am so happy in this hour to be joined by two experts, Dr. Carlos Hill of the University of Oklahoma and Dr. Hassan Jeffries of the Ohio State University. I can't wait to talk with them about all of this breaking news, including the start of the RNC convention, the attack or attempted attack on Donald Trump over the weekend, and now the new VP for the Republicans, lawyer, author, and movie writer, I guess, script writer, screenwriter, J.D. Vance. We're going to talk about what all of this means for the race And in hour two, we are taking you to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to that RNC convention. We have Christopher Walton, who's a former chair of the Democratic Milwaukee Party, as well as David Crowley. He is a county executive in Milwaukee. He's the chief elected executive officer in that county. Both of them are on the ground. They're going to give us a behind the scenes, a up to the minute, in real time, play by play in terms of what's happening with the protesters at the RNC. What are the Republicans doing? And what does this convention mean for the broader race that's going to take place in November in this country? So make sure you stick around for hour two if you're interested in what's happening at the RNC and you don't want to turn on Fox News. We're going to bring you all of that information from the convention city, Milwaukee, in hour two. But before I bring on my guests, here is what I'm thinking in real time. You know, I'm a lawyer. You guys all know that. And lawyers sometimes get a bad reputation. Some folks say, you know, we chase ambulances and we make arguments on both sides. We'll do whatever to win a case. Those are some of the attacks that you often hear associated with attorneys. Well, I'm honored to be an attorney, quite frankly. And some of those, criticisms do apply to some of my colleagues. But for the most part, I would say we're a pretty honorable group. Now, elected officials, not so much. And again, there's some who I love, great elected officials, folks who represent us with integrity. I think we have two right now in the White House, President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris. We have some great senators and congressional people, governors. So there are a lot of great politicians, but there are a lot of shady, unscrupulous politicians that will say or do anything to win. And that is, I think, an accurate characterization of J.D. Vance. This is a guy who trashed Donald Trump. And I won't even say trash. He was honest. He was just transparent. And he was just so incredibly honest about who Donald Trump was, the threat that he was to our country, how he was manipulating voters to vote for him. And all of this was before J.D. Vance decided to throw his hat into the political ring. Once he did that, he realized that to get through a tough Republican primary, you had to be a Donald Trump apologist, loyalist, enthusiast, whatever the word is, sycophant. You basically had to kiss the ring of Donald Trump. So having no scruples, not really caring about representing people from the state of Ohio with integrity, J.D. Vance did just that. But guess what? We have the receipts. We have the receipts on what he really thinks about Donald Trump. And so him being elevated to the position of VP is not going to change what the reality is in terms of him being honest with the American people. We know what he said. We know what he meant when he had nothing on the line. So now when he tells you how great a president he is, you know not to believe him. You know, it's all about him trying to get next to the seat of power, him trying to get elected as senator for the state of Ohio. And now him wanting to go all the way to the White House. You know, folks have been telling me they're not excited about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And what I'm telling people now is forget excitement. How about anger? How about being mad that these people think they can gaslight you, tell you one thing, which is the truth, and then when it's to their advantage, tell you a bunch of lies? That should make you angry. That should drive you to the polls, because the same thing that will drive you to the polls, if you are excited like you might have been with Barack Obama, I say take that same energy, call it anger, call it frustration, whatever you want to call it, but make it take you to the polls as well. We're going to play a quick 20-second clip of the new Vice President J.D. Vance talking honestly about Donald Trump. What do we have, Robert?
This before about this is an evolution, and I know you've been asked about this before, about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible. Those are things that this isn't.
Okay, you heard it. Those were things that J.D. Vance said about Donald Trump. Those are things we know to be true about Donald Trump. So when you listen to him give his acceptance speech, when he goes out on the road and he starts talking about how wonderful Donald Trump is, play this tape in your minds over and over again. Remember what I'm going to tell you. People have done the 14 top things that Vance have said about Trump. I'm not going to read all 14 of them. You've heard some of them, but he has a long and documented history of despising Donald Trump in the same way as many Democrats do, and for a good reason. And he talks about, he tells us that he wasn't even going to vote for Donald Trump in 2016, that he was going to vote for a third party. He even considered voting for Hillary Clinton because he said he couldn't stomach Donald Trump. And he talked about leading white working class voters to what he calls a very dark place. Again, we heard the Americans Hitler comment. We've heard the cynical a-hole comment. At the end of the day, he said, Donald Trump is not telling the truth. He was talking about Chris Matthews in 2016, asked him about Jessica Leeds. Did he believe she was telling the truth about Donald Trump sexually assaulting her? He said absolutely he did, that he would not believe Donald Trump over this woman, Jessica Leeds. He denounced Trump for paying for that full-page newspaper ad in 1989 to call for the death penalty for the 5 Black and Latino boys falsely accused of rape who were later exonerated. That was the right thing to do in 2016. I bet we hear him in 2024 saying that those 5 Black and Latino boys should have been executed. He also said, that he does believe a woman on a tape saying that Donald Trump raped her. I mean, the guy has been so honest about what he believes. He says he can't stand Trump. He thinks he's a fraud. Now, how many times have we heard that? He says, I think he's a total fraud who is exploiting white working class voters. He basically also endorsed a tweet where Trump was called a moral disaster. So again, he said Trump was reprehensible because of all that he does to stoke fear among the white working class, using, he said, hatred. We've heard this before, of immigrants and Muslims. So here you have J.D. Vance in Ohio, a lot of white rural voters, a lot of white working class voters. And at the time, he was saying they're being misled. They're being gaslit by Donald Trump. He was trying to protect those voters. But now he realizes that that's not the right thing to do if you want to be in power and if you want to be on Donald Trump's team. He said you've got to go hard for Donald Trump and you've got to say you support him at all costs. And that's what we see this VP presidential candidate willing to do. Again, when you hear him say he loves Donald Trump and he's great, don't believe him, because we have the receipts. When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
KBLA Talk 1580 is now celebrating 3 years of amplifying our voice and uplifting our community. We deeply appreciate your support of this radio station and will always do our level best to earn your support. Here's to many more years of loving and serving our community. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I know it's gonna happen without you.
Getting connected has never been easier. Get free Wi-Fi at all LA County library locations, inside the library and outside in the parking lots. Visit your local library and get connected today.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? My...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us and our climate justice campaign partner, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr., as we celebrate the grand unveiling of the South LA Greenway, Saturday, August 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park, 5790 Compton Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. Join us for a green and healthy festival with free food, planting activities, tree adoptions, nature walking tours, Zumba, yoga, sound baths, and more. It's summer, time to get outside. We look forward to seeing you at the dedication of the South LA Greenway, Saturday, August 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park, 5790 Compton Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr. and KBLA Talk 1580.
We're back, and Dr. Carlos Hill is going to hold it down with me in hour one. Dr. Jeffries is on the road. He's doing some traveling tonight, so he's not able to join us. So I'm excited to have you with me, Dr. Hill. So much has happened, man. Just a week ago, there was debates in the Democratic Party about Joe Biden stepping down. All of those conversations, all of that news has been wiped, off the front pages because we now have a couple of things that have happened. Saturday, this 20-year-old white male Republican, staunch conservative, climbs up on a roof at a rally in Pennsylvania, takes a shot at Donald Trump, hits him on his ear. Unfortunately, someone is killed by this young man. He then is killed by Secret Service. Secret Service is under investigation for how come they didn't secure this area better. And now the RNC starts, and J.D. Vance is the most duplicitous, lioness senator ever on the planet, because he's going to tell us how great Donald Trump is. So what are you making of all of this head-spinning news that's happened literally in the last 48 hours or so?
Hello, Areva. Thank you for having me once again. And yes, Areva, it has been a tumultuous start to this news week with the president's attempted assassination. I was not stunned necessarily by it, but I was stunned by, and I wasn't stunned by the attempted assassination because of how the rhetoric has been in the last 6 months. That's the shooting is not shocking because of how we've been talking to each other. But what's stunning is how the Republicans have not talked about what actually happened. And what actually happened is a Republican, someone who was supposedly a registered Republican, tries to assassinate the president, not a Democrat, not a political opponent, but someone who was a registered Republican or someone who had Republican politics. Maybe that's been overblown, but I feel like that has not been discussed. What does that mean? I feel like that's been watered over. And instead of talking about what actually happened, they've invented conspiracy theories. Joe Biden somehow, the Democratic Party wants to get Trump out of the way. They put a hit out on him so that he can't win the election. This is, again, another reason to vote for Donald Trump, trying to make him a sympathetic candidate. And so it's been a wild, wild Monday, seeing how Marjorie Taylor Greene and the like have taken this to try to create yet another conspiracy theory.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting, Professor Hill? Nobody will talk about the AR-15 rifle, weapon of mass destruction that this young man had, the fact that his father bought it for him legally, the fact that this is the same weapon that so many young white men with this same man's profile have used to shoot up schools, to shoot up malls, to shoot up movie theaters, and so many other public places. Nobody's calling for an examination of our gun laws or the lack thereof. But yeah, there are all these conspiracy theories about Joe Biden putting a hit out. Like, if we know anything about Joe Biden, the last thing Joe Biden would do is to hurt a fly. So it's such nonsense. And the other thing that's bothering me about the reporting those completely ridiculous conspiracy theories, is the reporting that kind of tries to make this, both side arguments, right? The Democrats need to tone down their rhetoric. The Republicans need to. And it's like the Democrats have not been using violence as a form of rhetoric. The Democrats aren't talking about relieving the insurrectionists from accountability. It's been the Democrats talking about accountability for this kind of violence. And it's been Trump leading the charge, making threats against jurors, making threats against judges, making threats against other elected officials, mocking Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, who was brutally beaten in their own San Francisco home. And yet the media, rather than just calling out Trump, again, wants to make this a both sides story when it is not a both sides story. And the other piece about this that's really disturbing is, again, the failure to call out, what really is happening with the rhetoric that Donald Trump and others in that party are using. Dr. Hill, is that, how are you feeling about this notion that somehow both sides are engaged in this, violence type rhetoric, when that's not accurate? I know we're having a little technical difficulties with Dr. Hill, but I'm disturbed by it. If you've been seeing any of the reports coming out, there is so much reporting to suggest that this is a both sides argument, that somehow the Democrats are as equally to blame as the Republicans. And that's just not accurate. The Republicans have been the ones who have been consistently using using violent rhetoric to rile up the base, talking about bloodbaths, talking about wars, talking about World War III, particularly if Donald Trump doesn't win again, talking about using violence and then supporting those who are violent, like the insurrectionists, rather than calling them out for who they are, actually talking about them as if they're some kind of peaceful tourists that were just, perusing or, walking, skipping through the Capitol, talking about issuing a pardon for all of those people despite the crimes that they have engaged in. So I am so upset about the way the corporate and legacy media is feeding news. And then this notion that somehow by Donald Trump raising his fist after being shot, that's going to sway this election in his favor because people are going to see him as this sympathetic figure. I just don't see that. And I just think we have to resist these narratives being told to us by corporate media. The reality is, whether he raised his fist or not, his policies are dangerous for this country. Glad the man didn't get more seriously hurt. Prayers go out to the poor man that lost his life. But the reality is, this doesn't change anything. Democrats are not going to change their vote simply because Donald Trump was shot in the ear and raised his fist. And I'm so tired of my Democratic colleagues clutching their pearls and being so worried about everything that Donald Trump does. If we turn out our voters, we win. It's quite simply that simple. It's that simple. There are more people that believe in the freedoms and the rights that we enjoy in this country than believe in taking this country back 50 years the way Donald Trump and the Republicans want to do. So Democrats, rather than getting so nervous every time Donald Trump does something, get inspired, get mad, get angry, figure out what you can do to get 10 voters registered and to the polls, because the numbers work out. Don't worry about the New York Times saying that Biden is losing in battleground states. It's June, people. People on vacation. People aren't paying attention. I was in Las Vegas at a casino in a spa when the news broke about Donald Trump. And literally a woman was getting into it with some other people because she said, look, he ain't dead. Don't ruin my spa day. The gamblers, the people on the casino floor who were gambling, they didn't stop what they were doing to pay attention to the breaking political news, they kept enjoying their summer vacations. We have plenty of time. Ain't nobody voting tomorrow. People aren't voting until November. The polls don't predict anything. If anything, to me, they give us a window into what we need to do. And if we keep working hard, we keep telling our stories, we keep talking about the dangers of Donald Trump. Now, J.D. Vance, a man literally who told us that Donald Trump was America's Hitler, that told us he was dangerous. If we listen to J.D. Vance before he needed Donald Trump, that's all we need to win this election. When we come forward, more with Professor Carlos Hill. And in hour two, we're going to take you live to the Milwaukee Republican National Convention. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
The right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is reacting to the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. While speaking at Monday's NYPD graduation ceremony, Adams, who is Black, said anger motivates us while hate destroys, and believes that the only answer is violence and destruction. Adams went on to say that's the hate that the new recruits will be facing, and that their job will be to identify those on the pathway to that hate. And now news anchor Doug Davis is reporting live from the NAACP National Convention.
Hey, thanks, Amber. Again, Doug Davis here at the Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas. Just finished a very deep conversation with Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Just shook hands with President Derek Johnson a moment ago. Spirited event. It goes on until the 17th. All the strongest Black minds are here, and so are we. Reporting live from the BIN, this is Doug Davis. Amber?
Thanks, Doug. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Good afternoon in West LA on the 405 northbound before Sunset Boulevard. There's a crash blocking the left lane. Traffic stop and go from National Boulevard in the area. Those delays are lasting for over 25 minutes. In Los Feliz on the 5 southbound before Los Feliz Boulevard, there is a crash on the right shoulder. Traffic going to be a bit slow from the 134. Those delays are lasting for just over 5 minutes. And in Encino on the 101 northbound before Havenhurst, there is a stall in the second lane from the right with backed up traffic from Van Nuys Boulevard. Those delays are lasting for just over 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tiger Woods is still trying to get his groove back. Woods rented out a golf course in Scotland today so he could get in a private practice round of 18 holes. Nobody was on the course but Tiger and his caddy. The 47-year-old Woods is getting ready for the British Open, which tees off Thursday. Tiger failed to make the cut in his last two events, the PGA Championships and the U.S. Open. He has not made the cut in 6 of his last 9 tournaments. 3 of Tiger's 15 major titles have come at the British Open. Tiger hasn't won a major title since the Masters in 2019. Former UCLA center Adine Bono signed a 4-year deal for $8 million today with the Philadelphia 76ers. Bono was a second-round pick of the Sixers last month. Bono has been balling with the Sixers rookie team. He's got 14 block shots in the Sixers' first 4 Summer League games. Bono could be a nice backup for Sixers star Joel Embiid. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Come to
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Hello, LA. Metro is your partner for thriving communities and sustainable travel. We're dedicated to providing better transit for everyone. When you go Metro, you're more connected to jobs, healthcare, school, and loved ones. It's the way of the future. Start your journey at metro.net.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Knox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Knox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Knox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
We are back, and Dr. Carlos Hill from the University of Oklahoma is joining me. And in hour two, we're going to talk to folks on the ground at the Republican National Convention that's taking place in Milwaukee at this time. Started today. Donald Trump has already been nominated, and he's announced that J.D. Vance, Senator, 39-year-old conservative senator from Ohio, who told us what he really thinks about Donald Trump in 2016, 2017, but who had a change of heart, Dr. Hill, when he needed him for his own Senate race. How is J.D. Vance going to overcome all of these honest things, very honest things that he told us about Donald Trump?
You said, Areva, how is he going to overcome it? How is Donald Trump going to overcome all these court cases, Areva? That's the bigger question.
Well, obviously, he has judges in his pockets. And, you know, if you watch mob movies, it looks like he has the whole federal bench is working for him.
Yes, and to try to answer your question directly, I wish, Areva, that question really mattered, right? But I don't think it matters. I think if his politics really mattered, they don't anymore, because now he's endorsed Donald Trump. And so whatever Donald Trump is for, he's going to be for, and he's going to support, even though J.D. Vance in the past, and we don't care about the past anymore, it's just the present, or some of us don't, but he went on record saying, I am a never Trump guy. And he even went as far to say, I don't even like him. I'll never like him. Now, Areva, is one thing to say, I'm a never Trump guy because of his politics. But he said, I will never like him. Now, that is where the real lie is, right? You're telling me it's one thing to say you've had a turn of face in terms politically, but now you somehow love Trump. Where did that come from? How did that come about? Areva, when we start to ask questions, this all crumbles because it's not real. And we know, as you've suggested, this is only politics. This is only about gaining, the seat next to the president and being in the position to potentially become president. This has nothing to do with anything but that.
You know what's so interesting? Apparently, Marco Rubio, who wanted the job badly, who started again, licking the boots, kissing the ring, whatever you want to say, after Donald Trump talked so bad about his father, his family, everybody basically in his family, and Doug Berman, a governor, they were apparently told they were not going to be selected. They didn't mention in the news today Tim Scott or Byron Donalds being even told that they were not going to be. And we saw those Black men auditioning, begging, just, selling themselves, prostituting themselves, someone would say, trying to get that job. We all knew they weren't, but I guess in their minds, they had convinced themselves, Tim Scott, oh my God, he just all but asked the man to marry him. And here, they weren't even mentioned. How humiliating must that be for them?
It's Republican politics. It's Republican politics under Trump. The formalities, the niceties of the politics of perhaps the days of old are no longer. The way in which these candidates, or excuse me, not candidates, but even these individuals who are selected has changed. They would be rolled out in the past over the course of. Now the first news of the convention is who's Donald Trump running mate is. And so things are not as they have been. But Areva, what I think, again, we should be focusing on and talking about the Republicans on Monday, a day following the attempted assassination of the former president, is what that tells us about our politics, and particularly Republican politics, when you have Republicans taking shots, literal shots at the former president of the United States. And that's not the real news. We're trying to make the news Democrats in a conspiracy to murder the former president, right? Rather than talk about gun laws.
It seemed like Donald Trump is so, his conduct has been so reprehensible. I don't even sense this notion of people feeling empathy for him. Trying to assassinate a former president used to be a big deal in this country. But if you follow a lot of pundits, if you follow a lot of political news junkies, there were suggestions that it was all staged, that it wasn't even real, that it was a production. There were others who were saying, let's not send him thoughts and prayers because he doesn't send thoughts and prayers. There were others who were saying, this is a wake-up call for America. We should be focusing on the kids who've been shot and, literally have to go through these active shooter drills in their schools. There wasn't this overwhelming sense, and thank God Joe Biden is so compassionate. I mean, he did try to say to the nation, this is a horrible moment. We need to, tamp down the rhetoric. But I didn't get a sense where people feel like this is a big deal. Like, I don't know. And maybe you and I are too young to know what it was like doing the attempted assassination, 1981. Well, we're not that young, but Ronald Reagan, I don't know. It just feels like to me that this country could kind of care less that this happened.
Areva, I want to remind you that I'm a historian of lynching and racial violence. And one of the things that I know from studying that history carefully is how Black life became really cheap in America during that era. So much so then when news of a Black person being lynched was reported in the newspaper, unlike when George Floyd was murdered, right? There wasn't, during the lynching era, a national outpouring, right? What I think, because we have become indifferent to Black suffering, what I think has happened in our culture today is we've become indifferent to shootings, to mass shootings, or even to assassination attempts, because violence in this country, shootings in this country happen every day. What has happened is a coarsening of our politics, right? Because we don't think we can do anything about it politically. We have become so indifferent to it culturally. When it happens, it doesn't even cause an alarm, because in this year, we are setting records for the number of shootings that have happened, mass shootings that have happened in this country. So I think even when it happens to the president or the former president of the United States, a shooting, and he was almost assassinated because it clipped his ear, that doesn't cause widespread alarm because we've become so indifferent to it, Areva.
No, you're right. I mean, I been on social media for the last couple of days. I've been having conversations with reporters by text messages. I've been talking to people, and there just isn't a sense of, oh my God, this is horrible. Oh my God, he could have died. People immediately started making it a political issue, whether it's the Marjorie Taylor Greene or other Republicans, saying Biden attempted it, which made it worse, because to the extent you're going to feel empathy, the minute you start, politicizing it, there goes any kind of empathy. But what do you make, Professor, of this argument that somehow this solidifies the election win for Donald Trump? I just didn't understand where people were coming from. And I was, having some back and forth with reporters. Like, I don't think anybody that was not voting for Donald Trump wakes up today saying, oh my God, because he was almost shot, I'm going to vote for him today. Am I missing something here?
I think this is wishful thinking, hopeful thinking, hoping that somehow in a really tight election, we all believe this is going to be a tight election. This is not a landslide in any way for either of the candidates. But at the same time, in a really close election, pundits and also just supporters looking for a ray of hope, or looking for a sign of, a win, a victory, perhaps Donald Trump not being assassinated, right? It's some sort of sign that he's supposed to be president. I disagree with that fundamentally.
That's only going to be the folks that already support him. I mean, the people that don't support him aren't buying into this, ordained Christian right nationalist kind of theory. And let me say this, I don't think the election is going to be that close. I know that's what the pundits are telling us. I think the Democrats are going to, if we do what we're supposed to do, it's a vote about turnout, right? All elections are about turnout. And I think there are so many signs right now in this country that the Democratic turnout is going to be much higher than I think what people expect. And even though we spent 2 weeks as Democrats imploding and infighting and finger pointing and trying to get rid of the top of the ticket with no plan to replace the top of the ticket, I think by the time all the dust settles, this is June, as I said, I don't think in September people are going to be thinking, oh, Donald Trump deserves to be president because he survived some kind of shooting. It feels like to me that the election is baked. We could have it today. There aren't any wobblers. There aren't any undecided voters. People pretty much know what they know. They believe what they believe. And it's really not a vote for either of these candidates. It's really a vote about ideology. It's a vote about what you believe in as principles. If you believe that we should continue to go forward versus believe that we should go backwards, it's a pretty simple election. So I don't know. I'm not letting the corporate media feed us. I'm trying to help my viewers and listeners not buy into this Super Bowl atmosphere in the news that they want to create, because every issue has to have this kind of sense of urgency and this back and forth, and they can never just report anything directly and straightforwardly. It has to be in a straightforward fashion. It has to be the Democrats up today, Republicans up tomorrow, to keep folks engaged. And it's you got to be a real smart person right now to read the news, because thank you, Robert. That's the word. It's all staged. It's staged for ratings. It's staged for viewers. It's staged for eyeballs. It's not real news, people. And that's one of the things that we try to do here at KBLA, is deliver real news, be a trusted messenger. And that's why you and other of my contributors, Dr. Hill, are so important. And thank you for reminding us about lynchings in this country, why we are so immune. Yes, I think, if you read the daily news in your community and hear about how many shootings take place on the streets of this country every day, former president getting shot at, isn't that shocking? When we come forward, I do want to talk about the Democrats and the infighting that we've been engaged in for the last 2 weeks. Knocked off the news today, but it's going to resurface at some level. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580, when we come forward.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys. Let's take Auntie to the swap meet. Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
Are you a small business struggling with the rising cost of healthcare for your employees? Are you considering offering healthcare benefits to your employees? It's a complex issue and can be difficult to understand and navigate. Chase Bank is here to help. Join us Wednesday, July 17th at the Chase Crenshaw Community Center to learn from experts from Covered California and answer questions about health benefits options for your business. Experts will discuss tax credits, the California health insurance market, and new options for small businesses. For more information and to register, stop by the Crenshaw Community Center or call 323-299-2641. Again, 323-299-2641. Chase Bank is here to help.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and Professor Carlos Hill is with us. So Professor Hill knocked off the news starting Saturday, but I was looking at the paper and looking at the news reports starting like Friday, back past week. Every story, Joe Biden should step down, 10 more people asking him to step down, George Clooney, James Carville, so-called party leaders, donors, even rumors that Obama sanctioned the George Clooney hit on Joe Biden. All that's off the news today because we have the assassination attempt, we have the RNC, we have JD Vance. So not a lot of real estate will be dedicated to the infighting of the Democrats. But do you think this gives us an opportunity to come together and unite and stay focused on the real enemy, which is not Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but it is the platform, that 16-page Republican platform that was adopted today in Milwaukee, and that 900 plus Project 2025 document that's been authored by the Heritage Foundation and is a blueprint, many believe, for the Republican Party. The 16-page thing is just kind of a red herring. That's just to throw us off the trail to make us think they're not really going to use the 900-page Project 2025 report. But what do you think? Can Dems get it together?
Unmute.
Thank you, Areva, for that question. I think this gives Joe Biden time. So much focus was on him. I mean, it was smothering. And it felt as if the pressure alone was going to force him to get out, to buy out of the race. He held on, and we know he as he has done the whole election, he has reaffirmed his commitment to staying in and beating Donald Trump. But the news of the assassination took that off the front burner for both Democrats and Republicans. And what that has now given him the chance to do is catch his breath, right? And what he really has to do more than catch his breath is really refocus, as you've always said, refocus the narrative on the things that he's successfully accomplished, refocus the attention on the vice president candidate, on the new vice president nominee, and his unfitness, right? His lack of credibility, right? Just focusing in on that, and not, as you would say, the thing that we know is his number one weakness, which has become his age and seemingly his inability to be coherent in the biggest moments. I know that Joe Biden in his candidacy, even though everything that he has done, probably Areva cannot withstand another debate performance like he had, even with him winning the nomination, which I think he will eventually, because the pressure will be so heavy, not just from now the Democrats, but coming from all corners. So I hope he regathers himself and comes out of it understanding how he can really finish this race as strong as possible.
Do you think he should even go through with the debates? Donald Trump refused to debate the Republican nominees or candidates, not nominees, but the candidates who wanted to be the nominee, because basically said they're beneath me. They're nobodies. I don't even need to deal with them. Joe Biden, I think, thought he was going to get some kind of advantage by doing this early June debate. And he could have just said, this is a convicted felon. I don't even stand on the stage with convicted felons. Do you think it's too late for him to pull out of these September debates?
Areva, it is too late. It is way too late. He had to make that argument. In order for that argument to be credible, he had to make that argument from the outset. Now it would be seen as him dodging a debate because of his inability to perform. And that would torpedo him, I think, because Donald Trump and his team would, as the Democrats fear, would highlight that over and over and over. He's hiding because he's a vegetable. He can't do the job. Like, they would invent everything to make him appear that as if he could not actually do the job. And so him backing out at this point, I think would torpedo his candidacy.
Yeah. No, clearly it's a much more challenging way to handle this situation now. I wish his aides would not have felt fear in June and the need to debate him, but that's kind of water under the bridge. I do hope that we are able to come together as a party. I mean, the Republicans, ruthless, lacking in integrity, definitely don't want to use them as a role model, but there is something to be said about how they are getting behind Donald Trump despite all of the flaws. And he has, to the extent you're going to say anyone has cognitive issues, he clearly does, because some of the stuff he says is totally incomprehensible. But yet the party is so focused on the bigger issue, he's almost irrelevant. And that's the Democrats. You know, we obsess. Like I said, I've been texting back and forth. The woman, she's obsessing, thinking George Clooney, that his op-ed was promoted to 10 million people. And I'm saying, I just don't know people walking around saying George Clooney said it, so it's the gospel. Like, I just don't know these people. And we are so nervous rather than being charged up, and we come together. So I don't want to be too hard on Democrats, because when it's time to do, the business, we beat them. Let's not forget that we beat him in 2020. We held back the red wave of the midterm election. So the evidence is there that we could win this. Or like I said, I think we could win it big. I don't know if we can get Democrats to stop worrying, though. It seems like that's just a trait of being a Democrat.
And I would add to what you're saying, Areva. Last week or in previous weeks, we've discussed the Democratic Party and the seeming infighting that was happening unnecessarily because of criticisms of his debate performance. Looking back now 2 weeks, I'm happy that debate occurred And it because it showed kind of a healthy political culture within the Democratic Party, one that did not revolve around a sort of worshiping a president or a past president, but actually holding one accountable and asking real questions and having critical debate. Even though I and you believe that it was unnecessary, it only hurt Joe Biden, or maybe it's hurting his chances by fighting about his candidacy at this point, it still shows what a democracy is about, right? And so from that vantage point, we should be glad that the Democrats responded that way and continue to.
Well, that is definitely one perspective and one you would expect a historian to have. However, from a ruthless lawyer, we just want to win. So Democrats, this exercise in democracy can wait while we save this democracy in this November election. Thank you, as always, Professor Hill, for holding it down in this hour with me and for sharing your brilliant insights. Hour 2, we are going into Milwaukee. What is happening there? There are hundreds and hundreds of protesters on the street, and the Republicans are inside their convention hall nominating Donald Trump and, lifting up this so-called rising star, J.D. Vance. We're going to take you right inside the RNC convention when we come forward. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you, Areva.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty.
All right. Take care.